right, I'm a little nervous making this video, but I'm gonna make it anyway. I need to go through these emotions. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my new song. It's called Break On Through, and kind of go through some of the concepts behind what propelled me to make this song. It's available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all that stuff. Just a quick heads up, I will be talking about some potentially triggering emotional stuff in this video, particularly death, dying, the act of grieving and mourning a loss of a loved one. But I promise there's a silver lining to all of it, so let's get into it. Okay, I keep sighing because I'm like, it's like purposefully putting myself in a pretty vulnerable place. But that's kind of what the concept of Break On Through is about. Let's take a listen to some of the song. Let's see how I can tell this story without crying. I might cry in this video, just a heads up. I might cry, but there's nothing wrong with that, and that's kind of part of the whole concept. This song is about loss. It's about death. I know I typically talk about, like Apple products, and I do speed tests between iPhones and stuff like that, but I wanted to show a different side of my creative process because it's definitely a huge part of my life, and I think some of you out there hopefully might be able to get something from this, or maybe learn some new tools for dealing with death or just dealing with a tough situation. My tough situation and why I made this song is because I lost my husband, Gary. I'm already in 2016, and collect yourself, Ben, collect yourself, you're making a video. It was the most tragic and the hardest time of my life. I never really experienced death at that much of an intimate level. I'd been together with him for almost 12 years at that point, and he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It had spread all over his body. It was a complete nightmare. I didn't know what to do, and I was just freaking out. From Gary's diagnosis of cancer to when he actually died was less than a month of time. So it's hard to even imagine losing somebody that is seemingly that healthy in less than a month. After I lost Gary, it was really confusing. I didn't know what life was. I didn't know what normal was. I had to kind of create this new normal, and we're hearing a lot about that right now because of COVID-19. All of a sudden, out of our control, life is kind of pulled out underneath us, like almost like a rug being pulled out underneath us. We're losing our balance, but we're still standing, but we're like wobbly, and what is going on with the world? After Gary died, I wasn't able to create things for probably almost 2 months. And I did make one song, was called Mutating Membrane. And then in May of 2017, I started another song called Break On Through. I made one version of this song and really channeled this feeling of hopelessness and despair, this confusion of what it's like to lose somebody, but also what does it take to literally break on through a tough emotion when you're experiencing something that feels really out of your control and really is out of your control. But you're trying to figure out, like, what can I do to focus my emotions and my energy on something positive, on something creative, just something that feeds the kind of happy joy, that I really wanted to feel, and that I feel like a lot of people want to feel when they're experiencing something pretty dark or pretty intense. I was having a lot of these PTSD emotions, and I still do sometimes actually 4 years later, but these episodes of, watching someone suffer and die and someone in pain. And it was really, really hard to process. I made that original project file and I didn't touch it for almost 3 years. Recently, I did this trip where you might have seen a video where I was like, I need to get away from YouTube and from the world. So I was out in the middle of nowhere in West Texas, just refocusing my energy, my thoughts on everything, and having just like a moment for myself just to breathe and just to think. Everything was making me angry and I needed to get away. That trip was a very cathartic trip for me because I went to this specific place where I spread Gary's ashes, and it was Gary's favorite place in the world. So I had, a lot of crying moments there, a lot of emotions came out there. But I feel like I really processed a lot of things that I had on the back burner. So I took that trip, I came home, I felt like I had this like rejuvenated spirit. I'm like, okay, fine. Now is the time when I can finally whip open this project file called Break On Through, and I guess break on through the toughness of despair and what I think I was trying to go for in this song. Opening up this file was like tearing the bandage off. The wound and everything just like on there, and you rip it off, it starts bleeding, and I was basically crying for like 2 weeks. It's weird that I felt compelled to kind of reopen this huge painful time in my life. But I did it, and I'm really actually glad that I did it. I was able to continue to process Gary's death, to process my grief and my mourning in a new way. I wanted to give this sadness a sense of hope, a sense of catharsis. I also wanted to give people a message, not just if you're dealing with the loss of a loved one or death, but really if you have issues with like depression or PTSD. I tried to instill a sense of triumph from this song, but triumph coming from suffering. And I do see this kind of link between suffering and love. Just working so deeply on a song like Break On Through and really channeling all of my emotions into this song to pull out hope from that. I went back into my archives of voice memos and recordings that I had made of Gary's voice. So I found these 2 clips of Gary's voice that were so hard. They were so hard to listen to. It felt like Gary was sitting there next to me. It's like this very ghostly presence. So then I was like, these voice memos, they have to be in the song somehow, but I wanted to kind of mix it in so it becomes this kind of a ghostly record of my experience, but also of Gary's life. A huge ode to Gary.
Is it easy to be able to understand me? I think it should be interesting.
But also an ode to anyone who has struggled with death or grief or just a tough situation that they feel like they could not pull themselves out of. So the hardest part of making the song was putting Gary's voice in there. I found a clip that I had made of myself crying, also from 2016 after I got Gary's ashes for the first time and I opened it up. It's in the song. You can hear little blips of it that sound kind of like this like it's like the harder sometimes things are to deal with, the more sometimes we want to put things to the side because it's really hard to deal with. And trust me, I get that. I do that myself. But this song was like a confrontation of all that. What does it mean to break on through kind of to the other side? At the end, you hear this clip of Gary talking about how he'll be more of a Casper than a death kind of ghost. And this theme of like ghostly qualities of loved ones that you've lost has really pervaded my mind.
And I'm still gonna be here, and I'll be more of a Casper than a death kind of ghost.
The idea of like a ghost being with you in a way where it's invisible, but you feel it. I really wanted Break On Through to be a personal test, to be like, how can I, expose my vulnerabilities, use them as my strengths? The deeper you and we all suffer is just kind of a testament sometimes to how much we really loved somebody, especially in the context of grief and death. Working through these emotions in songs like Break On Through and other stuff I've done has helped me not just channel how I feel about love and suffering and death, but it's really illuminated how deeply I've allowed myself to love not just others, but also myself. It's that raw emotion when you lose something or you're having a horrible moment or something that really, tries you, but there's some type of urge inside of you, like some feeling that you have where you're like, I have to break through this. Sometimes you just get so sick of the situation and so sick of feeling a certain, crappiness in your life that you just have to break it. Like, it's like breaking a mirror when you're so sick of seeing this certain type of person that you think you are. But then once you break the mirror, you see a shattered version of yourself, and all of a sudden, you're not that same person anymore. I really hope that Break On Through is more, first of all, an ode to Gary's life and impact that he has had on me. But I also want it to be a toolbox kind of for people to process their own grief, their own sadness. If you have like a mental health issue or just something that's hurting, I want people to hear this song and be like, life can be crappy sometimes, but there is a silver lining. You can get through all of the really, tough stuff in your life, but you have to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to step towards the darkness sometimes. Sometimes you do have to break on through this barrier, this kind of set of limitations that we think we're not capable of walking towards. Life does get better if we allow ourselves to have these really intense moments with ourselves and really feel what we need to feel. As Gary would say, feel everything. And I really believe that you will find strength from that. You will find hope from that. It's not going to be easy to do that. It's never easy to open yourself up, to be vulnerable. But for me, it's been so life-altering and really life-saving in some ways to allow myself to be broken and, to feel the pain, to really feel it when I need to. So anyway, that's the super long, way longer than I thought story behind Break On Through. You can stream the song right now on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, etc. It's everywhere. Just look for Ben Aqua, Break On Through. I hope you enjoy the song. I hope you find some type of emotional connection from it. Find some joy in it. And I hope that you break on through to the other side, whatever that means in your life. I really do believe there is positivity that comes out of some of the darkest moments. We can't have that light without the dark. Okay, that was really intense. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Smash the notification bell. Hope you have an awesome day. Break on through, and I'll see you in the next video.